Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Tuesday, April 9th meeting of the Pierce County Council. The time is 3:02 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Krueger.
Excused.
Councilmember Denson.
Here.
Councilmember Herrera.
Excused.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Here.
Councilmember Morrell.
Excused.
And Councilmember Mello.
Here.
Thank you. There's four members present, Mr. Chair.
We have 4 members
I got it
present
down.
and a quorum. That brings us to item number 3, our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and our land acknowledgement. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, led by Councilmember Denson, followed by a moment of silence dedicated to our men and women serving overseas in the military, and then the land acknowledgement read by Councilmember Denson.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. Coast Salish people have lived on and stewarded these lands since time immemorial and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step towards true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land.
Thank you, Councilmember Denson. That brings us to item 4, approval of the agenda. Are there any objections to approving today's agenda as presented? Seeing no objection, the agenda will stand approved. On today's council agenda, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment. On the consent agenda, you may provide comment on any final action item. This does not include items placed on the consent agenda simply for introduction or scheduling. So on today's consent agenda, the final action items include 2 appointment proposals and a motion to rescind the final hearing date for Resolution 2024-144. Those are subject to public comment. During sections 8 and 9 of the agenda, we will take public comment on each ordinance and resolution individually. And finally, under community forum, there will be an opportunity to address the council on any topic that is not on today's agenda. For information on the rules for public participation, please review the bottom of page 1 of today's agenda. That does bring us to section 5, the consent agenda. Does any member wish to pull any item from the consent agenda? Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. We have 2 of our appointees here today, so I wanted to pull them so they would have opportunity to participate. So I would like to move approval of the consent agenda, amending to move items C2A and C2B to section 9.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda with the exception of moving items C2A and C2B to the regular meeting agenda under Resolution Section 9. This is a public hearing on the rest of the final action items that remain on the consent agenda. Does any member of the public wish to provide comment on the remaining final action items on the consent agenda? We'll start here in chambers. Please come to the podium if you wish to do so. I don't see anybody coming to the podium. Mr. Dominique, anybody in our Zoom room? We're on the final action items that remain on our consent agenda.
For any member of the public that would like to provide comment on the final action item remaining on the consent agenda, please press your hand, or please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And there are no hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda?
Thank you. Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin,
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell,
Aye.
and Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the consent agenda is adopted. Item number 6 is messages from the executive, judges, or the prosecuting attorney. There are none today. Also, Section 7, proclamations, recognitions, and awards. There are none of those today either. Council, do you want to move to the resolutions that we pulled from the consent agenda? So we're going to, seeing no objection, we will take the items that we moved off of our consent agenda so that we can recognize the time of volunteers that are coming before us. So we have item C2A from the consent agenda. It's Resolution 2024-145. Councilmember Hitchin for a motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move R 2024-145.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 2024-145. Madam Clerk, please read the title.
Proposal number R 2024-145, a resolution of the Pierce County Council confirming the appointment of one new member, Carmetris Parker, to the Pierce County Allocation Advisory Committee for Prevention Programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Carmetris, thank you for being with us. We know you're with us virtually. Thank you for making time to be with us.
You're welcome.
We would love to have you briefly introduce yourself and share why you wish to serve.
Absolutely. My name's Carmetris. I've lived in Tacoma, Pierce County area for nearly 25 years and raised all 5 of my children in this area. I work in nonprofit and in education roles, and I am interested in serving this capacity, not only because I'm familiar with grant and allocation, but because supporting youth and preventing violence is at its core very dear to me. I have children, adult children and school-age children. I think it's very important, and I value that Pierce County has an investment in this effort.
Thank you very much for being here and your willingness to serve. Before we open this up for a public hearing, do any council members have any comments or questions of the nominee? We'll begin with Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you. Ms. Parker, I really appreciate you applying for this and was truly impressed with your resume, and I think you'll bring a really valuable voice to the work of this committee. Excited to see the different kinds of data that comes in that you can then use to figure out some of the ways that we can do even better by our youth in our community with the violence prevention work. We don't have a ton of money, so really being intentional about where the dollars go is one of the things I really want to work on as a county. So appreciate your lens, your voice, and your experience and your willingness to serve. This is sometimes a lot of work, right, when they're getting around the whole grant approval portion. So thank you for your commitment to Pierce County.
You're very welcome. Thank you for those comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Hitchin. I don't see any other comments. So this is a public hearing on Resolution 2024-145. Any member of the public wish to provide comment? We'll start here in council chambers. Please come to the podium. Not seeing anybody come to the podium to testify on this confirmation of this appointee, we'll move to our Zoom room. Mr. Dominique.
For any member of the public that would like to provide public comment on proposal number R 2024-145, please press the raised hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. See no hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Are there final remarks by council members? Building on Councilmember Hitchin's remarks earlier, thank you, Carmetris, for your willingness to serve. As Councilmember Hitchin says, you have very much the right background to add tremendous value here. For the public's benefit, this Pierce County Allocation Advisory Committee for Prevention Programs makes really important recommendations to the council about how to use public resources that are set aside for preventing youth violence and helping to support especially young people to have more safe, healthy options to do things after school, summertime, out of school time. That's a lot of what we lean on this allocation advisory committee to do, as Councilmember Hitchens said, to make the best use of scarce resources, in this case, to prevent youth violence and promote healthy neighborhoods and healthy opportunities and safe opportunities for young people. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on Resolution 2024-145?
Yes. Councilmember Hinchin,
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell,
Aye.
Councilmember Jensen,
Aye.
and Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the resolution is adopted. We're at Proposal R 2024-146. Vice Chair Campbell for a motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. I move proposal R 2024-146.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt Proposal R 2024-146. Madam Clerk, please read the title.
Proposal number R 2024-146, a resolution of the Pierce County Council confirming the appointments of 2 new members, Lancey Dennis and Tracy Turner, to the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to invite these nominees to introduce themselves at the podium. Tracy?
Hi, my name is Tracy Turner, and I'm excited to be on the Disability Council Board, and I am glad I moved to Pierce County.
Thank you for being here today. There may be questions from others, so
Yep.
thank you so much for making yourself available. Lancey, we see you in our Zoom room. We would love for you to briefly introduce yourself and share why you wish to serve.
Hi, my name is Lancey. I currently work for Tacoma Housing Authority as a community advocate. I have a son who has utilized services with the DDA, and I also have residents in the community that utilize the service as well. I'm very passionate about my community. I want to give back. I want to see where I can help more, and I want to learn more and see where we can get more services for them.
Thank you so much for your introduction and for being here. Do any council members have any questions about these appointees before we open this up for a public hearing? Not seeing any questions from council members. This is a public hearing on Resolution 2024-146, appointees to the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. Any member of the public wish to provide comment? We invite you to the podium. Not seeing anybody coming to the podium, we'll go to our Zoom room. Mr. Dominique.
For any member of the public that would like to provide public comment on proposal number R 2024-146, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. There are no hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Before I ask for remarks, I see the director of our Human Services Department turned her camera on. Our Human Services Department is the primary department that provides support to the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board, making sure that this is a really great experience for the individuals serving and that we get the advice and counsel we need. Director Moss, did you have anything to say?
Thank you for recognizing me, Chair Mello. Heather Moss, Director of Human Services, for the record. I just put my camera on. I didn't know when the appropriate time was to raise my hand, but I just wanted to second the appreciation for all 3 of these individuals raising their hands to be part of our advisory boards. As the council well knows, we have, I think at last count, 13 advisory boards that made up of citizens and professionals and subject matter experts across the community who weigh in and help us make really important decisions about not only where funding goes, but what our programs should look like and how we best serve a lot of the people in need in our community. So my heartfelt thanks to all 3 of these individuals.
Thank you, Director Moss. And as the director said, she has delegated point folks, point staff, to be on point to staff these various advisory boards, and it takes a lot of staff time, but the the information we get, the guidance we get, the direction we get from these individual community members and these advisory groups are really important. This one in particular, our Developmental Disabilities Board, Advisory Board, not only are they making really important recommendations about programs and funding and services here for Pierce County and what Pierce County government delivers, but I know many of us have gone to this particular advisory board for other parts of our responsibilities, like Pierce Transit. And this advisory board has made really significant and useful recommendations about how our local transit agency can be a lot more accessible. Just as one example, I know, so it's not just Pierce County programs directly, it's other adjacent agencies that serve the public, like Pierce Transit, that leans on this body for really critical advice and direction. Seeing no other remarks, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on Resolution 2024-146?
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Councilmember Denson,
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin,
Aye.
and Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the resolution is adopted. Thank you again to these volunteers for giving of your talents. We're going to move back to our published agenda, Section 8, Ordinances. We have Ordinance 2024-514 before us. Councilmember Hitchin for a motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move O 2024-514.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt Ordinance 2024-514. Madam Clerk, please read the title.
Proposal number O 2024-514, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council amending ordinance number 2022-14S, adopting new voting precinct boundary maps pursuant to Chapter 29A.16 of the Revised Code of Washington and setting an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Long, to brief the council.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So the proposal before you, as stated in the title, would adopt new precinct boundaries and maps for Pierce County. State law provides that the legislative authority of each county of the state shall establish precinct boundaries. Every voting precinct must be wholly within a single congressional district, a single legislative district, a single district of a county legislative authority, and if applicable, a single city. The statute further provides that the county legislative authority may establish a limitation on the maximum number of active registered voters in each precinct, but in no case may the number exceed 1,500 active registered voters per precinct. So the proposal before you recognizes that certain adjustments need to be made to existing precinct boundaries to conform to the statutory limit on active registered voters per precinct, and also to conform with existing electoral and taxing district boundaries. You'll see in Exhibit A that there are 9 new maps. 5 of these are adjustments to conform to new school district boundaries. 3 of these are to comply with the maximum number of active registered voters. And 1 of these is to comply with new redistricted legislative boundaries. And then as far as your council districts go, 7 of these maps are in, the map changes are in district number 1. 1 of these is in district number 3, and 1 of these is in district number 5. This proposal was heard in the Rules and Operations Committee on April 1st and received a due pass recommendation. So if adopted today, these would become effective on April 29th of this year. And I will note that Kyle Hall from the Elections Division of the Auditor's Office is with us today online to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, thank you for joining us on behalf of Auditor Farmer. Do you have anything to add on behalf of the auditor?
We have nothing. We're here to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you for making yourself available. Are there questions or comments by council members before we open this up for a public hearing? Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. I missed the Rules and Operations meeting the other day, and I meant to send this ahead of time. There was a small change in a legislative district, and I'm just wondering, how do we notify those voters as to the change, because it changes who their legislators are?
Voters who've been moved precincts will get a new voter registration card after you help approve them. They're all mailed those right away.
Okay.
And there's actually even more changes of legislative districts. Only one precinct is changing, but 70 people are moving from the 31st to the 2nd and vice versa out in East Pierce County. That's as a result of changing lines in the Yakima area has spread all the way up to our side of the mountain.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Kyle, can you restate that number? How many voters are moving from the 2nd to the 31st or the reverse?
Around 10,000. Their precincts aren't actually changing. They're just moving districts, and they'll all see that soon here.
And
And
what did you say? It's from the 31st to the 2nd legislative district, or the other way around?
Both.
Okay.
Going both ways.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you have something else to share?
We brought this up in the Rules and Operations Committee. The Supreme Court declined to hear a challenge to that map. I think that's close to the last challenge, but you never know with the law. But the lines seem to be final now, for now.
Any other questions before we open up for a public hearing? I don't see any. This is a public hearing on ordinance 2024-514. Any member of the public wish to provide comment, we invite you to the podium. Not seeing any members of the public here in council chambers come to the podium. Mr. Dominique, anybody in our Zoom room?
For any member of the public that would like to provide comment on proposal number O 2024-514, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. No hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Are there final remarks by council members? Thank you to the auditor's office for making sure voters are aware of changes when they happen, why they happen. We know you communicate really well, really accurately, and try to make it as easy as possible for voters to know what's going on. So thank you for this cleanup and these technical changes. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on ordinance 2024-514?
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Hinchin.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember.
Aye.
Thank you. And Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted. We now have ordinance 2024-516 before us. Councilmember Hitchin for a motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move O 2024-516.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2024-516. Madam Clerk, please read the title into the record.
Proposal number O 2024-516, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council directing the notice of funding availability process set forth in Chapter 2.111 of the Pierce County Code, notice of funding availability, be utilized when soliciting applications and awarding funding from the Housing and Related Services Fund and amending Pierce County Code 448020S, Housing and Related Services Fund. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call on Ms. Carrie Waterland from our staff to brief the council.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Mello, members of the council. For the record, Carrie Waterland, staff for council. What you have before you for consideration today is a proposed amendment which subjects the Housing and Related Services Fund, which is also known as the Maureen Howard Affordable Housing Act, to the Notice of Available Funding process, also known as NOFA process. By way of background, in October of 2023, the Pierce County Council established the NOFA process pursuant to ordinance number O 2023-67. This process has been codified in Pierce County Code, Chapter 2.111, also titled Notice of Funding Availability Process. The NOFA process is distinct from another way of getting funding out, which is known as the request for proposal process or RFP process. In both cases, the department provides a prioritized list to the Pierce County Council for consideration. In the RFP process, the Pierce County Council may do one of the following. You may approve the recommended list of proposals, you may reject the list entirely and initiate a new RFP, or you may fund fewer, meaning decreased number of proposals on the list. In contrast, the NOFA process allows the Pierce County Council to do one of the following. You may accept the list of prioritized projects in whole, you may reject that list in whole, or in contrast, you may add projects to the list from the pool of eligible applicants, or you may revise funding amounts to address geographic diversity, district equity, or council funding priorities as adopted by a resolution. Funding for added projects comes from proportionally reducing funding by the other projects on that list. What you can find starting on page 50 of your packet, which is page 2 of the exhibit of the ordinance, is the amendatory language that is for your consideration today. There are no other code changes that are being processed or proposed at this time. There was a public hearing on April 2nd in Health and Human Services, and that received a do-pass recommendation. There is no fiscal impact perceived or gathered as part of this proposal. There is an equity note available, which is on page 45 of your packet. And today, the department has provided Mr. Jared Wright, who's in the room with us, for any questions, as well as it looks like having Director Moss on the line. With that, I've concluded my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Waterland. Let's turn to department staff first, see if they have anything to add. Do you have anything to add, Jared? I wouldn't add anything. Do you want to come to the podium so people can hear you, even if there's nothing?
Yeah, nothing to add from Carrie, but here to answer any questions.
Thank you for making yourself available. Director Moss, defer to you too if you have anything further.
Same, we're just here, available to answer questions as needed.
We really appreciate that. Do council members have any questions before we open up for a public hearing? Councilmember Hitchin, you got your question answered?
I did.
Okay. I don't see any questions by council members. Thank you again to department staff for being available. This is a public hearing on ordinance 2024-516. Any member of the public wish to provide comment on this ordinance, we'll invite you to the podium. Not seeing anybody come to the podium here in council chambers. Mr. Dominique, anybody in our Zoom?
For any member of the public wishing to provide comment on proposal number O, 2024-516, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. There are no hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Jared or Director Moss, actually, I do have one question. We worked together to, we put this new revenue in place. We're very pleased about that. We worked together to put the 6-year spending plan together, which creates the framework, the strategy, the framework, which, the details about eligibility and criteria. I say that for the public's benefit, for the next 6 years of these public investments. I think Mr. Schmid's not available. He otherwise would field this question, but is the department on pace to release the notice of funding availability to the affordable housing development community by the end of the month? Or what is the timeline for releasing?
Yep. Our target date, I believe, is April 19th. So coming up within 2 weeks. It's in the process of being reviewed by procurement staff at the Human Services Department. And yeah, the developer community is really excited about the momentum we have, this new funding, the opportunities it can create. We've put our priorities out to a wide developer group for feedback. We've been collecting that feedback over the last couple of weeks, but yes, we're on target to publish it mid-April, and we'll have applications due mid-June.
That's great news. Thank you. I don't see any other hands. This is the first time we're using this slightly different notice of funding availability process for the department, the executive, and the council to use. And I'm confident it'll go well. I know the department's working really hard. You've been spending a lot of time thinking with the development community about how to best use these scarce resources to make real impact on our affordable housing crisis. So thank you for the very hard work by the department.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited for it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on ordinance 2024-516?
Thank you. Councilmember Hinchin.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote was 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted. That brings us to resolutions, section 9. We have proposal R 2024-143 before us. Councilmember Hitchin for a motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. R 2024, I would like to move R 2024-143.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 2024-143. Madam Clerk, please read the title.
Proposal number R 2024-143, a resolution of the Pierce County Council setting the date of an evening District Number 2 Council meeting for Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. at Milton City Hall, 1000 Laurel Street, Milton, Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Long to brief the council.
Thank you. So the Pierce County Charter provides that the council shall conduct at least one evening meeting each year in each of the 7 council districts. And the council's rules of procedure provide that the specific time, place, and dates of these evening district meetings be set by the adoption of a resolution. So the resolution before you today does adopt the details for the District Number 2 evening meeting for 2024 as stated by the clerk. And I will note that this meeting will be held in addition to the regular 3 p.m. Tuesday meeting that week, which will be April 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Are there questions for Ms. Long before we open up for a public hearing? Not seeing any. This is a public hearing on Resolution 2024-143, establishing an in-district meeting date and time. Any member of the public wish to provide comment? Starting here in chambers. Not seeing anybody. Mr. Dominique, anybody in our Zoom room?
For any member of the public that would like to provide public comment on proposal number R 2024-143, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. No hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Any final remarks by council members? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on Resolution 2024-143.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Hinchin.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the resolution is adopted. We're now at section 10 of our agenda, Community Forum. Community Forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on any topic that is of significance to or affecting Pierce County government and that did not appear on today's council agenda. There is a 3-minute time limit. Please state your name if you would like it on the record and address all your comments to the chair. We'll start with those in chambers. Is there anybody here in council chambers wishing to participate in Community Forum? We'll invite you to the podium. We're not going to force you to, but we wanted to make sure you feel comfortable and welcomed. You very much are. Not seeing anybody come to the podium here in council chambers. Mr. Dominique, anybody in our Zoom room wanting to participate in Community Forum?
For any member of the public that would like to participate in Community Forum, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And right now we have 2 hands. We'll start with David Terry Hurd. Please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Mr. Hurd, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. We see that you are unmuted, though. Mr. Hurd, we cannot hear you. If you can hear us, can you take down your hand? Okay, so you can hear us, but we cannot hear you. We'll have you try to adjust your settings on your end to see if you can make your audio work. We're going to go to the next caller, and we're going to give you some time to...
It didn't work.
There you go, Mr. Hurd. We can hear you now.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. The Canyon Road and 200th construction project, I believe it would be increase the safety if on 46th Street you put up stop signs to stop the 200th traffic going east and west, because the people there kind of blow through the and around the construction sign, and I just think it would be safer. The other issue I wanted to bring up, there was a ballot that's been sent that has a single issue on it, and I thought we were doing away with doing single issue ballots. But this concerns and it was sent to all registered voters on the taxing of property. Now, the tax on property should be by the property owner alone voting yes or no, because you've sent it out to a lot of people who do not own property, who are not responsible for their property. So once again, the law on this, the protocol says that it's saying in excess of. Now that puts a violation of the rules and the laws that we the people have put forward to control the amount of money that's being taken through taxation. If we agree to it, fine. But the circumventing of our rules is very disturbing. So I wish you'd reconsider the fact that when you do send this out, and every year that we have this, these different taxes that come out, the county raises our property value by many thousands of dollars, and so that these taxes that are being put forward, again, go up substantially. So it's really not, I'm going to say, in the best interest of the public. I realize it is in the best interest of the government, who's always looking for dollars, that this forward effort, please reconsider the fact that when you do ask for monies, even for a very worthwhile purpose, and this is, that you're being very conscious of the fact that it should be only sent out to the people that are directly affected, instead of everybody who doesn't own any property. They live in apartments, or they live on the streets, or wherever they vote. Please reconsider the way you do this. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback.
And next we have caller ending in 075. Please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Roxy Giddings. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to throw a thank you out to the El Toro restaurant on Pacific Avenue out here in the Parkland area, because they gave 20% of everything they made yesterday to try to save the Parkland Heritage School that we're trying to get out here in this area for a community center. So I just want to say thanks. That was really a great thing on their part, and boy, were they busy. They got lots of good stuff going. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Giddings.
And I'm not seeing any other hands at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dominique. We're going to come back here in council chambers to see if anybody else in council chambers wants to participate in community forum. If you do, come to the podium, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your remarks.
My name is Linda Jones, and I was just hearing the young man early before the young lady was speaking about the safety on the conditions of the road. I live at 72nd and Yakima. I've been there 11 years, and I done seen so many accidents and death. I have my own vehicles personally turned up in somebody else's yard. And I would like to know if the city can please put up some type of cameras for that. I mean, the cars have been going into people's yards, neighbors. And we have to take turns, watching everybody's property. Did you get that on video? Did you get that on video? But I have witnessed a lot of deaths, a lot of tragedy on that street. And I mean, it's very unpleasant. I've been there 11 years. And the speed bumps is not going to help. You can believe that, because they just take everybody's car as they're going down the road. But if you guys can put some type of surveillance camera up, it'd be more than appreciated. I'm speaking for everybody on that block. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for those comments. Anyone else here in council chambers? I don't see any further members coming forward, so we're going to close community forum, bring it back to the council. This is not a back and forth. This is a time for us to listen and hear comments from the community, but we do want to try to address them when appropriate. We'll just work backwards briefly. Just to remind you, the jurisdiction of 72nd and Yak, we hear about traffic violence often. It's a very serious issue. And just two things in the spirit of action. At 72nd and Yakima, that's in the city of Tacoma. We're going to want to make sure you're going to want to make sure you get your comments to the city of Tacoma. We do not have jurisdiction at Pierce County on city streets in any city. Our jurisdiction around safety is primarily in unincorporated Pierce County outside of cities. It's a very important issue. Make sure you get that communication to a city council member. Again, traffic violence is a very important issue to this council. Our performance audit team has done some work in this regard where there's a lot of work going on here. Councilmember Campbell, who's having his in-district meeting next week, Thursday, one of the discussion items he has at his in-district meeting next Thursday, April 18th in the evening, is a report about traffic violence and what the county has done, can do, and should do in this regard. So we are taking it very seriously. Mr. Hurd brought up an issue that he observes on Canyon at 200th and 46th. I know our staff is listening. Mr. Swanson, we know you are listening, of council staff. I think you're the most appropriate council staff person to communicate to Planning and Public Works on our behalf, to bring that to their attention and ask them to analyze that intersection, please, Mr. Swanson, per Mr. Hurd's observation.
Message received, sir.
Thank you. And then, Ms. Long, there was a question from Mr. Hurd about single subjects on the ballot. I don't know of a prohibition on single subjects on the ballot. I'm not sure which item he is talking about, if it's South Pierce Fire and Rescue or what issue he's observing right now. But do you just have a few words, Ms. Long, as you heard the public comment there?
Yeah, so there is a rule about a single subject on a ballot because people want to just be voting for one thing, right? They might want to vote yes on one thing and no on another, so you can't put more than one subject on a ballot measure. I'm not aware of a ballot measure that Pierce County has passed yet. We do have one coming up. I will review that, the proposed ballot language, to make sure, and it's always our intent to keep within the limits of the law on the single subject rule for ballot measures. But I'm not aware of any others that Pierce County has at this time.
I think the public comment that I heard was around putting one and only one item on the ballot for consideration. So not, any other topics or elected officials up for consideration, but one and only one item on the ballot, like a school district or fire, one and only one measure. Is there a prohibition to your?
No, not at all.
Totally lawful. Happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's happening in Gig Harbor.
Thank you for bringing that up, Carmelo.
Yes, so single subject items can and do happen, and happen fairly often. Parks districts, general purpose levies, fire districts.
Mm-hmm.
So no prohibition there. Thank you for confirming that, Ms. Long.
Yes.
We have closed community forum. We are at section 11, other business. I wanted to note, before I open it up for other business from other members and announcements, I just wanted to note that next week's Pierce County Council meeting will have a start time that is at 4 p.m. Our regular Tuesday meetings typically start at 3 p.m. Next week's meeting will start at 4 p.m. And this is largely to accommodate a performance audit report and discussion the council needs to receive in the evening time. So we're starting at 4 to ensure that when we get to that agenda item, that we get to that agenda item by 5 p.m. or later to comply with our charter and have that discussion in the evening. So that is why our meeting is starting at 4 p.m. instead of 3 p.m. next week. Wanted to make sure the public is well aware of that. Are there other business or announcements by other council members? Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. Just to highlight, in case anybody's listening, the report we're going to be receiving is about domestic violence and gender-based violence in our county, and Performance Audit did a really good job in contracting with an outside agency to really do a overview of the services in our county. So we'll just kind of look at where we're doing well, look at where we have areas to improve. It's highly informative, and we're also going to have several touch points, people that do this work every day here to kind of educate the council and the public on this. There's a lot of misconceptions around domestic violence. It happens everywhere in every community, in every zip code, and men and women, it's young and old, and so it's really kind of trying to make sure we're bringing people along, because again, the perception around domestic violence is wrong, and so we're just trying to shift what that looks like and then how to receive services in our county. So heavy topic, so just self-care, but really important that we are working together to make sure we're getting the information out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hitchin. I should have been more clear about what the content is for the evening meeting next week. Thank you for that and all your work in that regard. Any other business or announcements by council members? I don't see any. Ms. Long, is there any other business for council this evening?
Not today, thank you.
Seeing no other business before the Pierce County Council, we are adjourned.